Welcome back, you guys. I hope everybody out there is doing excellent. So today, TrixyBlox put out another episode of the Ultimate Survival World, and we're gonna watch it. Okay, we're gonna watch it together. I can't wait to watch it with you guys. And he goes underground this time, so he's gonna be working on some lush caves, some dark caves, all that great stuff, and I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, right? So let's do it. Let's go. All right, so I've really been looking forward to this. You know, it seems like it's a long time in between episodes, but I know it takes him a long time to work on this stuff. It's a lot of work. I'm just in awe of everything so far, and I can't wait to play this. You know, guys, I'm pretty sure he's got to be getting close to finishing this, and then we can, you know, download it and play it, and I'm gonna make videos on it. It's gonna be everything you've hoped for, you know. but yeah, so let's get to it. I haven't seen it yet, and I just cannot wait. All right, so let's go. Let's do it. Enough of me yapping, right? All right, here we go.
I've spent 10 months upgrading everything in Minecraft to create the ultimate survival world.
10
I'm
months.
transforming practically every in-game biome and structure on a massive scale and in insane detail, all for you to experience in survival Minecraft.
Oh man, that was the last one. Oh man, I don't even know how to describe it with words. How, you know, much work must have gone into just building this whole thing. But that head right there, I mean, dude, I don't know. I'm in awe, like I said. All right, I keep saying that, huh? All right, so let's go. I will try not to interrupt as much as I can, but you know, I gotta say things, you know. So anyway, here we go.
The USW is going to include story and secrets, hidden loot, and so many extras for you to discover, spanning across a 16 million block island. So far, we've already transformed all of these biomes on the island,
Plains,
with
deserts.
only the taiga and the snowy mountains left to tackle.
Wait. Let's go back. Go back. Sorry.
We've already transformed all of these.
Okay. So check it out. So he's transformed the plains. We've watched them all, but I just want to go back and do a recap here real quick. So plains, desert, dark forest, which I loved, the jungle, which was my favorite, the mesa, which is awesome, and the savannah. I mean, they're all awesome, but you know, there are my favorite ones so far. But so man, that is 6 altogether, and now today he's doing a cave, you know, a cave remodel, if you want to call it, but then he has 2 more left, right? And he's gonna say it right here, but I think it's the taiga and the snowy mountains, right? And so he's getting so close to being done, like I said. So here we go.
These biomes on the island, with only the taiga and the snowy mountains left to tackle.
Yeah, taiga,
however,
snowy mountains.
There's still plenty left for us to upgrade before moving on to those final biomes. So, in today's episode, we'll be turning our attention to the caves of the ultimate survival world, and more importantly, the inter-biome mining network. Minecraft has finally wrapped up its Caves and Cliffs update with 1.18, and now the latest 1.19 Deep Dark snapshot has been released. This update is shaping up to be one of, if not the best yet. So, I knew it was time to transform the USW's caves, especially with 1.18's new build height. We're going to be combining the beautiful elements of the 1.18 lush cave.
Okay, so I got to stop it again. So one thing I want to say, okay, about Minecraft is they, on their updates, they just keep outdoing themselves. You know, they just keep making Minecraft better without any mods, without, you know, people building these great, you know, things like he's doing. So I mean, not only is Minecraft making this better, but on top of it, we have builders like this doing this stuff. I mean, I'm so happy, you know. I'm sure you guys are too. So here we go. Let's get back into it.
With the brand new mysterious features revealed in the 1.19
Oh yeah, I can't wait
snapshot.
for the warden.
And even though this update hasn't officially released yet, we know a fair amount of what to expect, especially when it comes to the builds, since most of the key blocks are already available in some form and the main structures have been revealed. But what key features of each update are we going to incorporate in today's transformation? For 1.18, we have the lush caves and the dripstone caves, including amethyst geodes, glowberries, spore blossoms, and pointed dripstone. For 1.19, we have the deep dark and the ancient city. primarily using deep slate and sculk blocks. We also know that ancient cities are going to be relatively large in size, sprawling across different levels and contain soul fires and soul lanterns.
Oh, man.
One of the most anticipated additions is the Warden, which we'll definitely not be forgetting about in this upgrade as well. So we're going to be combining these elements of these cave types to create the ultimate lush, deep, dark dwarven cave.
Oh, I
guess
can't
we
wait
better
for this.
start by updating the world. And don't forget to check out the mini movie series over on the JEFFERSCRAFT channel after
Yeah,
this
we've been
video.
checking that out.
She's just uploaded the jungle episode, where you'll head on an epic adventure through the wilderness, coming face to face with terrifying creatures and finding yourself stranded in a catastrophic elemental storm.
I keep interrupting. I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. So we are gonna be watching the JEFFERSCRAFT new, Minecraft, the new Ultimate Survival World movie, I guess is what they're calling it. But we're gonna be watching the next one of that too, and I think pretty sure that one just came out too. So yeah, here we go.
Anyway, let's get going with the transformation. Now, you guys may remember that our 1.17 USW island sat in the middle of an ocean biome with caves generated by World Painter, along with a few custom additions. But since upgrading to 1.18, something pretty epic has happened to the world generation. There are now a ton of these 1.18 lands scattered beyond the USW's oceans for you guys to explore and make your own. With all of this magnificent natural land to journey across, as well as naturally generated caves with plenty of extra ore. But it wouldn't be a TrixyBlox build without some Easter eggs and surprises. So these new islands will really be a great place for off-island excursions and adventures. Don't worry though, these distant lands won't ruin the USW experience. The main island remains special as the exclusive home to the different biomes and structures.
Wow, so, excuse me, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but did he just say that they're gonna put some things around the rest of the world, or at least, close to it? I don't know. I wonder. Didn't really say, but it almost seemed like that, right? So like some Easter eggs called it. So we'll see. That's if he does that, that's another, cool thing I cannot wait for. So here we go. I'm going to try not to keep interrupting, by the way. All right, here we go.
Structures. So don't get lost. This island is essential to your survival. Now, if you've been following the other USW episodes, you may remember me mentioning that several of the biomes' people made pacts, and even had complex trading relationships. This cave is actually home to the hub of the inter-biome mining network, where the indigenous people of the desert, mesa, and jungle banded together to strengthen their collective resources via a complex network of mines. What I didn't mention was that this hub is also the home of an entire civilization of people and the fourth members of the Alliance, the USW's dwarves. With the shell of the cave complete, you can spot plenty of 1.17 and 1.18 elements here, with the giant dripstone stalagmites, glowberries, spore blossoms, and more. This is the ultimate lush cave to start our epic transformation in. Now, to kick things off, we're going to be creating a grand smelting area with the statues of the network's founders, which will later connect to a forge via a hanging conveyor system and minecart system. There will also be cave networks and geodes throughout the back wall. Since some of these aspects connect to the main city, we'll tackle certain parts later in the video. We'll be starting by creating a dwarf statue feeding the cave's forge with lava, the Jungle King statue, bridging the lava channels to the desert and the mesa statues, and finally the Pharaoh and Wolf Chief statue, both of which are going to be holding a lava heating basin and a smelting vat.
Man.
Now, first and foremost, let's start with our giant dwarf statue, since this vast cave is their home, and they were the ones to establish the epic lush ancient city we're going to be tackling today. Little is known about the origins of the dwarves, but they were outcast by those inhabiting the surface, leading them to seek sanctuary underground. It was a long time before the dwarves made contact with the surface dwellers again, but when they did, the kindness of the Jungle King led them to a strong alliance, which eventually led to the inter-biome mining network forming. Without the dwarves, the surface biomes would have struggled to prosper as they have, so it's fitting that this dwarf statue feeds the cave with its only lava source, essential for the smelting of materials mined from the cave network. To finalise our grand dwarf statue, I incorporated plenty of deep slate variations to tie in with the deep dark theme, which will become much more apparent when we tackle the rest of the city. I also gave the dwarfs some weapons, which actually represent one of the two factions of the city, which we'll explore more later on. The Copper faction was known as the fiercer faction of the dwarves, renowned for their resilience and survival abilities. To honour the sacrifices they made to protect the entire dwarven race, the Amethyst faction, who are the more innovative of the dwarves, built this statue bearing two weapons said to be wielded by the Copper faction's eldest ancestors. I think he makes for an awesome centerpiece of the forge area. With our dwarf statue
that is
complete,
amazing.
it's time to set it in place and get started on the next statues. If you've been following the TrixyBlox channel for a while, you might remember my underground kingdom. This mega build was my first major project, and I really wanted to include some sort of reference to it in these caves. So I took the Atlas-inspired statue I created for the underground kingdom and improved on it to act as the basis for our founder statues. As you can see, the two statues look pretty different to each other, and I definitely think the new one is a major improvement. Using the foundations we just built, I added the finer details to the Jungle King statue. The Jungle King was also key to the creation of this inter-biome mining network. Cool. So he sits between the dwarf statue and the other statues, since it was his diplomacy that bridged the gap between the dwarves and the people inhabiting the surface. With the Jungle King statue complete, I place him down in front of the dwarf statue before moving on to our final two founder statues. To meet the lava channels that we're going to be placing, these statues need to be a little lower, so I tweaked the same underground kingdom statue into a kneeling position before getting started with the finer details. Then, to tackle the pharaoh statue, I built his headdress and added some clothing and jewelry to set him apart from the other statues. You may have also noticed the gemstones I have placed in the head of each statue, which is just a little representation of their home biomes. And for the Wolf Tribe Chief, I tried my best to recreate a feather war bonnet, which was pretty tricky using just Minecraft blocks on this scale, but I think it turned out looking pretty cool. And with the final Founders statues complete, it's time to incorporate them into the smelting area of the forge.
Oh man,
as
this
you can
is
see,
so cool.
Our Jungle King is supporting the main lava channel, which sloped down into the back of our Wolf Tribe Chief and Pharaoh statues. Now, whilst I really wanted this part of the build to be a crazy centerpiece that does the USW's lore some justice, I also wanted to make sure that it made some sense as a practical element of the build. So the front statues are each feeding a large basin of lava that they carry, which heats a vat attached above it. This way, all of the gold mined from the cave networks can be brought here and smelted, before transporting to the main forge. But we'll tackle all of those logistical elements later. These huge statues were a great way to kick off this cave upgrade, and I love how they tie the lore of the ultimate survival world into this transformation.
Yeah, man, that is so good. Bravo, my friend. Bravo.
Before completing the forge area, we need to lay out the city entrance and the city itself. So let's head over to the cave entrance, which ties in nicely with the three biome statues we just created. We're going to include some grand, deep, dark dwarven architecture, themed entrances leading to the jungle, mesa, and desert, and a large trading and marketplace area below.
I can't wait.
To mirror the thin corridors and multi-leveled elements we've seen in the ancient cities from the 1.19 snapshot, I created these narrow staircases to connect the upper and lower platforms of the entrance and trading area, adding some basic crenellations to start off with. I then started to work on the first of the three biome entrances with a chain and cog system to work the doors. Well, we'll use our imagination and pretend that they work the doors.
Right.
I played with the gear design for a while before settling on a style and embedding it in the wall either side of the entrance. As you may have guessed, this is the door to the desert. So I created the door in a style inspired by the USW's desert to keep things nice and themed, before adding the same theme to the inside of the door, as I really wanted it to feel like you're heading to another realm when you exit through these doors, since they do actually lead all the way to the biome that they're themed on. Yes, these doors literally connect these biomes with long, winding tunnels.
Yeah,
so to continue the themed doors,
Whoa.
I made some adjustments to the upper entrances before adding an entrance themed around the Mesa's Wolf Tribe, and of course the final entrance was themed around the jungle, leading straight into the ancient jungle city. To tie things in nicely with the cave, I created a curved wall design before spending a long time decorating the back walls and floors in a typical dwarven style, as well as adding some soulfire lighting to tie in with the 1.19 theme, as these are going to be a key part of 1.19's ancient cities.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised.
With the main shell of the entrance and market area almost complete, I connect it up to what will later be the main forge area with a dwarven bridge, before making the final tweaks to the front wall. I think you guys will be excited for what I have planned for these archway designs later on. It actually involves the Warden, the latest mob coming in 1.19. Finally, I made some final tweaks to the finer details of the walls and floor designs before getting started with the market, starting off with some wool that I use for planning. I plotted out a marketplace, building a range of different market stalls using warped materials to tie in with the colour scheme. And of course, sculpt blocks are actually obtainable already using commands, so I was able to replace some of the warp materials with these blocks to really bring 1.19 elements into this build.
Dude.
Plus they serve as an important purpose to the dwarves, which we'll find out about later on. Now this entrance and trading area is the perfect place to gather supplies for a long adventure into the caves. Once you see the scale of what's coming, you'll definitely want to be geared up.
Oh man. Cinematic. Love this.
Before we revisit our forge area and with our entrance complete, it's time to head over to begin the city, which will line the walls of the cave.
That's cool, man.
We're going to be incorporating bridges connecting to the main forge, a multi-layered deep dark ancient city, an ancient library, the elders' dwellings, water channels, and faction-specific cities on each wall with special banners and relics.
Man, he spared
Firstly,
no expense.
I connected the city's foundations to the main forge area before adding the main staircases to connect the different levels to one another. Since this city was going to connect and interact with the main forge area, I decided to get it all plotted out with wool in advance, so I knew exactly what space I was working with and how everything was going to link together, because I really wanted to make sure that the system made logical sense. I then continued my wall plan across the foundations of our city, incorporating plans for the faction's banners and relics, as well as plotting out paths for the water channel.
Okay, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. This is so interesting that I'm just, getting lost in it. You know what I mean? But I just want to say real quick, I love how he shows every step he does, in fast motion. I've said this before, but just how he goes about his whole process of doing this is just something that blows my mind, Some of you builders out there that know how to do this kind of stuff, he does it on such a big scale, it seems almost overwhelming to me, but so that's why I have so much respect for this. And like I said, I can't wait to play this. So, all right, so here we go. Let's do it. Let's do some more, huh?
Channels throughout the city. And to kick things off, I began with the bottom level of the city. In our dwarves culture, they actually didn't have a typical class system. Instead, the younger dwarves inhabited the lower city, working hard and providing for their people, working their way up the tiers with age, until eventually making it to the elders' dwellings, studying the ancient dwarven texts. Also, you may have gathered that this is the Amethyst faction from the current rooftop designs.
Yeah, I love the incorporation
this didn't quite
of
feel
Amethyst.
right. So, I switched to our warped Skulk rooftops to match the market and the 1.19 theme of this build. We'll still be including different details to set apart the two factions, which you'll see shortly.
Okay, he took it out.
Now to tackle the middle layer of our deep dark city, I added some slightly larger buildings, since the dwarves gain more luxury as they work their way up the city. I also switched the main building materials as well, and I think it's really starting to look like a deep dark city now.
Look at that.
And to make way for the top tier of the city, I made some final tweaks to the arching roof supports, ready for our final additions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these dwarves have their very own library of ancient texts, which sits at the very top of their city. Generations of elders have studied these texts, even discovering ways to protect their city from the miners from the surface. That's right, you won't be able to dig straight down into this colossal cave from above. That would be too easy, and the dwarves couldn't live with such a threat after their historical conflicts with the surface dwellers. Despite the serious reading that goes on in this library, it looks like a pretty cozy place to get lost in a good book.
That's a huge
and
library,
of course,
man.
I had to add the elders' dwellings at the end of the top tier, taking inspiration from that classic Erebor style of building from The Hobbit.
Oh, nice.
To finish up the city, I built the water channels we plotted out earlier with wool, and then mirrored the city to the other side, joining them to the entrance and trading area with more bridges. Now, you'll remember me mentioning the two factions of dwarves, and you may have guessed that each faction inhabits one side of the city, depending on their strengths. They're very much seen as equal, but different, so their cities reflect this. Neither faction is inferior to the other. The Amethyst faction is based around innovation and creation, known for their extraordinary abilities to find valuable materials and use them to construct magnificent designs. The Copper faction is based around survival, known for their fierce fighting style and their sharp, savvy approach to surviving, affording them the greatest endurance no matter the odds. The factions each have two key relics representing their core values. The Amethyst faction has a pickaxe and a shovel, mirroring their roles in mining and creating, whilst the Copper faction has an axe and a sword, representing their survivalist abilities. And of course they keep the copper hammer of their ancestors in their banner. Whilst they've found more efficient fighting tools to use themselves, they still honour their heritage with this symbol. This deep dark dwarven city is insane, and we're not even finished up yet.
That is awesome. Ooh, I wish he would put some of that amethyst back in, though.
For our final additions to our dwarven cave, we're going to include an intricate cave system, a hanging conveyor network, the main forge, some docks, some amethyst geodes, warden dungeons, giant cave lanterns, and minecart systems. And with the main
Nice.
city complete, it's time to finally start linking things up to the main forge. As you can see, we're adding a cave entrance at the edge of the city and finally getting started on those hanging conveyors. Now that I'm finally transforming this wool, you can see that I've incorporated these pouring towers where the conveyor buckets tip the mined materials, which you can see is gold in this case, into the smelting pots. These hanging conveyors work their way around the entire network of caves in a loop system, so that the dwarves and the other interbiome miners can keep the smelters operating virtually non-stop with an endless supply of gold. And finally, we're back at the forge area, creating our main base for weapon and tool creation. Once the materials have been smelted at the founder's smelting area, the liquid is poured into buckets and transported across the water to this forge. The pouring towers then transfer the liquid into these new vats, which keep the liquid heated with fires kept roaring by the bellows that you can see next to them. The liquids can then be poured into molds and forged into weapons on the forging tables, where the dwarves beaver away to create the most powerful tools and weapons of the USW. This is possibly one of my favourite parts of the build so far. I had to tackle things in a bit of a strange order to plot everything out properly, but it was definitely all worth it to see the forge up and running, linking so seamlessly with the rest of the elements in the cave. And of course, the dwarves need a place for fishing and transporting supplies. So I added in some docks at the bottom of the two sides of the city and dot around some boats carrying some materials.
Nice. That looks way
Since
better.
Amethyst Geodes are a 1.18 addition to the game, and one of our factions is named after it, I had to add in my own Amethyst Geodes at the back of the cave, as well as a bunch of cave entrances and platforms to start our cave network. The caves wind through this back wall, creating an intricate mine network full of epic loot and materials, including copper of course, since we can't leave out the copper faction either. Honestly, these caves took forever to map out, but they're going to be great fun to explore, especially once we've added in the minecart system.
Oh man, he's still going.
And if you've been keeping up with the mini-movie series on the JEFFERSCRAFT channel, you guys will recognise this emerald cave from the desert chapter, where many friendships are born and even a plot to overthrow the pharaoh was hatched. And of course, I haven't forgotten about the Warden. In fact, the dwarves had many a battle with the Wardens of the Deep Dark when searching for a home safe beneath the surface. When they settled here and expanded this cave, they used sculpt materials on their rooftops to alert them of trespassers entering their city. These materials were stolen from the Wardens, who had become the dwarves' greatest enemy, eventually striking an attack on the city. The Copper faction defended the city from harm, and the dwarves were victorious, locking the Wardens away in these dungeons across the city. The Wardens now act as guards to the dwarves' most valuable treasure collections. We thought this would be an epic way to incorporate the Wardens into this transformation, giving you guys mini bosses to tackle in your adventures, and also doubling up as a mini upgrade for Minecraft's dungeons too. Will you tackle the Wardens head to head, or will you take the stealthy approach? And lastly, to finish the caves, I tweaked the vines to make sure that none were broken, and added some giant hanging lanterns based on the design I used in my Underground Kingdom build. I then tweaked the number of glowberry vines until I was happy with them, before finishing up with a crazy network of working minecarts, connecting the forge to the whole cave network and spanning across the entire back wall of the cave.
Look at that.
With that, let's take a look at the Ultimate Survival World's new upgraded caves.
La. Damn. Here's the cinematic, yes. That's epic. Definitely the definition of epic right there. Look at it's all working. Yes. That is so just beautiful. Oh, I love that. Love the purple. See this big smile on my face? Yes. All right. I'm gonna stop him right there. So, man, you guys, TrixyBlox has outdone himself once again, if you ask me. I mean, wow. I hope you guys enjoyed this So we'll see you next time, okay? Have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace.